That's a Marine joke.
I know. I'm gonna go see our friend for lunch, and then I'm gonna come back and work.
So what are we talking about?
So today we're talking about how does one advocate for oneself. We have Master Hurricane to thank for this topic, and in true fashion, they sent along an entire list of things to talk about to help guide the conversation. So in some ways, it's as if you're here with us.
Master Hurricane has been super helpful. He's laid out so much awesome information.
Mm-hmm.
So let's hit the ground running.
All right. So the meaning of behind advocacy. Definition of advocacy refers to the act or process of supporting a cause or proposal. It involves taking action to effect change for a cause that an individual or a group is invested in. This can include various forms of support, such as public expression of interest, lobbying for legislative changes, and grassroots movements aimed at raising awareness and mobilizing community support. I think that's a global definition of advocacy, right? So types of advocacy, several types, each with different purposes. Grassroots advocacy, this involves individuals taking action on their own to support a cause, often guided by a not-profit organization. Emphasizes organic growth in awareness and support.
I think our approach to, my approach around sex work is a grassroots advocacy thing in regards to the therapeutic element of sex work, and then the significant value that sex work has as a sex worker.
Right, the destigmatization of it, there's people working out there to decriminalize it, and you do have a very grassroots sort of approach to.
Yeah, thank you for that definition. I never really sat with a lot of these words or definitions. Yeah, thank you for that definition. I never really sat with a lot of these.
Lagging messages?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Because lagging messages?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Because, big businesses lobbying in Washington, trying to push their agendas. The word lobbying always has a negative spin to me, but I see where it's a type of advocacy, especially if you're lobbying for, better causes than big pharma and petroleum, which is how I know that term.
The issue in that realm is you're competing with that level of money.
Yeah.
Right, and you're hoping to win humanity over dollars.
Right. Try to keep my opinions to myself about the hopelessness of that. Activism versus advocacy. While often used interchangeably, activism typically refers to actions taken outside established systems to create change, where advocacy usually involves working within those systems to represent the interests of others. Interesting. Activism refers to actions taken outside established systems. That would be a
because you're advocating among channels, among legitimate
Right.
channels or recognized channels.
Right. But activism, sort of acting from the outside in?
Well, what's the definition?
It typically refers to actions taken outside established systems to create change. Well, I guess protests and stuff are considered activism, right?
For example, advocating for yourself, Chess Fest has a reporting policy that doesn't vibe with transparency in a lot of degrees. Advocacy is to write a letter and say, listen, this is what happened. Activism is protesting the event.
To come outside of it and say, this is what went on, in the hopes that it might affect change by saying it outside.
Yeah.
That's a great example. That makes it clear to me what that means. Yes, Master Hurricane, the light bulb went on. Purpose and importance of advocacy. The primary goal of advocacy is to assist those who are negatively affected by institutional systems through various means, such as supporting, pleading, defending, or arguing on their behalf. Advocacy plays a crucial role in creating change across political, social, and economic institutions. Advocacy groups can range from nonprofit organizations that focus on specific causes like education or health, to political action committees, PACs. Those are the ones that I always have those thoughts
super
about.
PACs.
Super
PACs,
right, the big PACs with the money that aim to influence elections and policy decisions, right? So now we get to, what does it mean to advocate for yourself? Advocating for yourself means taking an active role in communicating your needs, rights, and desires. It involves several key components that work together to empower you in various aspects of life, whether it be personal, educational, or professional. What little tiny smidgen of research I had a chance to do said that self-advocacy boiled down to three things. One, understanding your own needs, knowing what support might help you, and being able to communicate those needs and that support to other people. That's sort of the fundamental of what self-advocacy looks like. And that made sense. That broke it down pretty easy, right? You know, if you're, like when you're in school, my sister had a learning disability, right? So you have to know what your need is, right? And then you have to be able to know what support is available. And then to communicate that you need that support. It's a type of self-advocacy. So communicating your thoughts and feelings. At its core, self-advocacy is about being able to express what you think and feel. This means articulating your emotions and opinions clearly so that others can understand your perspective. Effective communication is essential because it lays the groundwork for others to respond appropriately to your needs. That makes sense in and out of the lifestyle.
Yeah. I mean, when we're talking about negotiating and
Mm-hmm.
self-advocacy and learning language so you can be better at it, this is covering all those bases.
Yeah. I suppose in some ways, negotiation, the way we go through it and facilitate it, is self-advocacy.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
the whole thing of it is. We could call it the self-advocacy rather than negotiation, right? Who am I, what do I need and want, and how do I communicate it to others?
Yeah.
Duh. The MIT-PISA self-advocacy form. Yeah, and effective communication, it seems like all three of those parts have to happen, right? You have to know what's going on with you. You have to be able to, I think, know what's available, right? And even like in the negotiation form, we have a shorthand negotiation form called MIT-PISA that we put together to cover all of the important bases for negotiations so that before you and someone were to engage in a scene, you know you have all the information you need to be safe, right? But in some ways, saferly. But in order to do that effectively, you have to know what's available, right? Like what is available to meet your needs. Like we want to do X scene. What furniture is available, what toys are available, what safety things are available. If we don't know what those things are available, we don't even know what we're negotiating, right? So not only do I have to know what I want and need, I need to know what resources are available that would go towards meeting that need and then be able to communicate about it. Interesting way of narrowing it down. Asking for what you need and want. Self-advocacy also entails the ability to request assistance or resources that you require. This could involve asking for accommodations at school or work, seeking support from friends or family, or simply expressing a desire for something that would improve your situation. Being proactive in this way helps ensure that your needs are recognized and addressed. And notice that it doesn't say always met, right? Because just because I have a need and I know what it is and I can articulate it doesn't necessarily guarantee it's going to be met. But I will at least be recognized and heard. It will be addressed. Even if the answer to it is, well, no, or some partial variation of it, I think that's important to know that it doesn't necessarily mean all your needs are going to be met just because you figured out what they were and you were able to articulate them, right? So knowing your rights. Understanding your rights is a crucial aspect of self-advocacy. This knowledge empowers you to stand up for yourself when those rights are not being respected or not acknowledged. Whether it's in a healthcare setting, workplace environment, or educational institution, knowing what you're entitled to allows you to advocate effectively on your own behalf. I think that's the thing of knowing what support is available.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's, what I'm imagining is when we go to events, right? You go to an event that you don't know, and you don't know what's available in terms of the people who are running the event. How qualified are they? How many skills do they have? If you go to the event and you don't have a lot of technical skills and you go there needing or wanting some sort of support around technical skills. Oh, I have this new flogger, I'm going to this event, I hope somebody can show me how to use it. You don't know when you go to that event if that resource is available. Maybe there's not anybody there who could help you, who could teach you or show you, right? And in some ways, I think it's important to know where the resources are for what you need and want, right?
Were you on number 4?
I haven't done that one. We're just doing knowing right.
So can I read number 4?
Absolutely.
Making choices and taking responsibility. Self-advocacy means making informed choices about your life and taking responsibility for those decisions. This means evaluating options available to you and understanding the consequences of each choice. By doing so, you become more empowered to shape your own path rather than allowing others to dictate it.
Yeah.
That's
There's a whole back.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
That's like when I talk about being able to, on your journey, either you're going to decide what you would like to explore or someone's going to tell you what you're going to explore.
That's true in life general. If you're not in the driver's seat of your life, if you're not making decisions for you, then somebody else is. I didn't really realize that until it got spelled out for me really clearly. Some of the TikTok videos that we watch, the different inspirational speakers, the different channelers and motivators and stuff, when they make these unequivocal statements like, if you're not running your own life, somebody else is running it for you, like in very black and white terms. And when you really sit and think about them, it's really true. It's like, if you're not taking responsibility for who you are and what you want and what it would take you to get there, then you're just marching to someone else's tune.
Octavia, we have these saved on Instagram and on TikTok, and they are being uploaded to YouTube as well within the next week or so. All right, so developing a plan. The ultimate goal of self-advocacy is not just awareness, but action. Once you've identified what you want or need, the next step is developing a plan to achieve those goals. This may involve setting specific objectives, identifying resources or support systems available to you, and taking actionable steps toward fulfilling those objectives. Understanding negative advocacy. Negative advocacy refers to the behavior where an individual or group supports a position or person in a way that is detrimental to others, often by promoting negative perceptions or actions. This can occur in various contexts, including legal disputes, marketing, and interpersonal relationships. The concept is particularly relevant when discussing high conflict personalities who may manipulate situations to cast blame on others while garnering support for their own negative behaviors.
That sounds strangely like the current political landscape. Or maybe that's strangely always been like the political landscape, I don't know.
The role of professionals. In professional settings, such as law, mediation, or therapy, practitioners often aim to help clients navigate conflicts. However, when dealing with HCPs, high conflict personalities, there is the risk that these professionals may inadvertently become negative advocates. This happens when they align too closely with the client's distorted perceptions and emotions without adequately assessing the situation or considering the perspectives of other parties involved. For instance, if a lawyer hears only one side of the story filled with emotional intensity and fails to verify facts or meet the opposing party, they may advocate for actions that escalate conflict rather than resolve it.
There's a whole bunch in that paragraph.
Yeah, there is. That's mob mentality.
Mm-hmm.
That's, anyway.
Yeah.
Emotional hooking. Professionals can become emotionally hooked by intense expressions of fear and anger from clients. Neuroscientific research indicates that the emotions are contagious. Thus, professionals may absorb their clients' emotional states and lose objectivity. This emotional engagement can lead them to advocate for extreme measures like divorce or legal action without fully understanding the implications or realities of the situation.
Yeah, and I think that's why in some cases, like self-advocacy, nobody knows you better than you.
Than yourself.
Yeah. Right? It's like professionals know so much, professional anybody's, right? And you have to also be advocating for yourself if you're looking to involve a professional of any kind in your situation, right? Whether it's legal or therapeutic or a BDSM practitioner or whatever you're looking for, you still have to advocate for yourself. Like, no one's going to know better than you what's best for you, even if you don't believe that.
Yeah.
I think in some ways, when you get yourself aligned with and allow yourself to be influenced by someone who does not have your best interest at heart, and you see where that goes, then you get clear right away that really nobody knows better than you what you need.
Yeah. There can be a lot of negative advocacy in the lifestyle too. Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%. Consequences of negative advocacy. The consequences can be severe. In legal cases, attorneys who act as negative advocates may face sanctions if their actions are deemed inappropriate or harmful to the judicial process. For example, attorneys have been penalized for promoting false allegations based solely on the client's emotionally charged narratives without corroborating evidence.
That's that whole Me Too thing to me.
Oh yeah.
It's like people took sides, they still take sides, right? Based on a frothy emotional appeal of only one party without doing any sort of cool-headed, sort of critical evaluation of the whole picture, all the sides of the story, all the things that happened. So people jump on these frothy emotional bandwagons. Even people who are in positions of power, people who run organizations, people who people look up to, then they take the word of that person. Like, so if it isn't bad enough that someone's making some, splashing some emotions about how bad they feel about something, then that argument gets taken up by people who are in more positions of authority in the community, and then suddenly the whole thing snowballs.
Yeah. To prevent becoming a negative advocate, monitor emotional levels. Professionals should remain aware of their emotional engagement to strive and maintain logical thinking, maintain skepticism. It's crucial not to take everything at face value. Gathering corroborative information is essential. Assess crisis levels. Not every dispute constitutes a crisis. Professionals should take time to analyze situations calmly. Promote positive advocacy. Encourage clients to gather information and present concerns rationally rather than reacting emotionally. Seek feedback. Consulting with colleagues can provide additional perspectives and help manage personal biases. By adhering to these principles, professionals can better serve their clients while avoiding the pitfalls associated with negative advocacy. Learn to advocate for yourself and what it looks like. It's like, the idea is to think for yourself and find people who allow you to think for yourself.
Yeah. And the whole thing.
Because that's where you find your voice.
Yeah. And feelings aren't facts. Right? Like that's a lesson that I learned a long time ago. Just because you feel something doesn't mean it's true. What we used to say to each other, feelings won't kill you. Like, no matter how bad your feelings are, they're not going to kill you. Like, but we get caught up in how bad somebody feels, and then people buy into it, and then there's this whole thing where people don't engage the more rational parts of their brain and their investigative abilities and to see what the other side of the story is.
Understanding self-advocacy. Self-advocacy is the ability to speak on your own behalf and clearly communicate your needs and desires. That's it. That's the whole sentence. That should be it right there. It involves expressing what you want, whether in personal situations or professional environments. The skill is essential for ensuring that your voice is heard and that you can influence decisions that affect your life. That's the perfect paragraph.
Read that part again.
Self-advocacy is the ability to speak on your own behalf and clearly communicate your needs and desires. It involves expressing what you want, whether in personal situations or professional environments. This skill is essential for ensuring that your voice is heard and that you can influence decisions that affect your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's anything worse than being in a situation where you are at the behest of other people making decisions that influence you and you don't feel like you have a say.
Oh yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
The importance of self-advocacy. Being able to advocate for yourself is crucial for personal growth and empowerment. It allows individuals to take control of their lives, make informed decisions, and assert their rights. In professional settings, self-advocacy can lead to better job satisfaction, career advancement, and improved workplace relationships. For women and individuals from marginalized backgrounds, self-advocacy can help combat biases and stereotypes that may hinder their progress.
Yeah.
Steps to become a self-advocate: be clear about your needs. Start by identifying what you want or need in various situations. Whether it's asking for a raise, requesting flexible hours, or seeking clarification on a project, being specific helps others understand your perspective.
Or take the mentorship program.
Or take the mentorship program. Immediate road to learning self-advocacy. Instantaneous.
No lie.
Start small. If advocating feels daunting, begin with less intimidating requests. This could involve asking for an extension on a deadline or suggesting improvements in team processes. Gradually build up to more significant advocacy efforts. Practice your communication skills. Role-playing conversations with friends or writing out scripts can help you feel more prepared when it comes time to advocate for yourself. Practicing helps reduce anxiety and increases confidence. Yeah, knowing what you're going to say is a big deal.
Role-playing always seems so awkward to me at first, but it's really important to hear. For me, I'll speak for myself. I always find when I have to go into something, a conversation with someone like a boss or a person, whatever, that might be challenging or especially might challenge me emotionally, it really does help to like say it out loud in a mirror first, or let a friend listen to you talk about it so you can just hear what it comes like coming out of your mouth, so that when you go to have the time where you actually need to advocate for yourself, you have some practice saying what you need to say, so you're not, because I get flummoxed really easy when I'm not certain, not 100% confident, afraid of the reaction I'm going to get. So practicing that stuff in advance is helpful. It always feels stupid at first. Oh, what am I going to just talk in the mirror? Yes, I'm going to talk in the mirror. So I have more skills about me when I go to do it. So
practice. Frame requests as mutually beneficial. When making requests, consider how they benefit not just you, but also your team or organization. Using language that emphasizes mutual gain can make others more receptive to your proposals.
You know what else works? Asking people to help you. If you frame something in terms of, this is the help I need, this is how you can help me, people are usually way more amenable to being of assistance when they feel like you're not telling them to do something, you're asking them for help.
Give yourself grace. Understand that self-advocacy is a learning process. Mistakes will happen along the way. Be patient with yourself as you navigate this journey. Engage in continuous learning. Seek opportunities for personal development through workshops, networking events, or mentorship programs that focus on building self-advocacy skills. Ding, 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 ding.
How did we know that they were going to get to the end and they were
Do we have a bell? Do we have a bell? We have a bell
You
somewhere,
have bells.
right?
Well, we have 20 bells somewhere.
I know where they're at. They're in the lockers.
Okay.
Reflect on your experiences. After advocating for yourself, take time to reflect on what went well and what could be improved next time. This reflection will help refine your approach over time.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we do, is we help people advocate.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
I think that should
absolutely.
be something
Are we add to the language?
that we add to the language. I mean, I've known that, but to actually read it out.
To see it written out, yes.
Encourage others. By advocating for yourself, you inspire those around you, especially other women, to do the same. Creating an environment where everyone feels empowered to speak up fosters collective growth.
Yeah.
And you had the source for this, right?
It just came as an email from Master Hurricane. So I'm assuming that they have the source for that information. And maybe you put it in the chat so people know where you got it from.
And in times that when you do advocate for yourself, it being used against you. Oh yeah, I've had that happen to me in the military.
Yeah?
Yeah. When we were Marines who had just gotten out of boot camp and we were going through training, we all got hurt in one degree or another. And so it was like we were waiting to heal. They called it MAT company, Marines Awaiting Training.
You all got physically hurt.
Yeah, I broke my ankle, someone broke this, someone had that.
Wow.
All just throughout training, all different
Okay.
Marines throughout training. So they would make us stand in formation. They would fuck around with us, the NCOs in charge. And so they would make us stand out in formation, cold, hot, people in casts and wheelchairs, fucked up shit. To fuck with us, right? Because they could. And then I came on board.
And what did you do?
No,
Pray tell?
they really fucked with us a lot, and it was really fucked up. And they used to treat us essentially like we were still recruits.
Yeah.
And once you cross that parade deck, you're a fucking Marine. Period. Period. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. You did it. You graduated boot camp, you're a Marine. No matter if you got out the next day or you made your time in, you still are a Marine. So anyway, they're treating us like recruits. And we were coming up on July 4th, and we were going to get a 96. A 96 is 4 days off. And it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, right? So they have the base commander come on to keep us motivated in this little motivation speech. Marines, blah, 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 you're hurt and you'll be back to training soon, enjoy your 96. So what they tell us is, I think it was a staff sergeant. If I remember his face, bitch. But he tells us, he says, all right, Marines, listen, the commander's going to come in. He's going to ask, he's going to have his little spiel. He's going to say, do you guys have any questions? Don't raise your hands. The sooner he's out, the sooner you go on your 96. Understood? Yes, Staff Sergeant. Right? So the CO comes on, and the base commander comes on, and he starts his shit, and he does his spiel, and he goes, Marines, any questions? I raised my hand. And you can see all of the NCOs like, fuck, Rodriguez, why? I go, sir, why is it that we're all have graduated boot camp, but they're still treating us like recruits? You could hear a pin drop in that fucking room. And the commander, he's looking at me, and he looks at the gunnery sergeant, he goes, Gunny? Woo! Shit changed immediately.
Did you get your 96?
Fuck no, I got fucked. I got fucked because I spoke up. I advocated for us, and they fucked me. I was supposed to come up and see my daughter and all that. I was fucking fuming. But
did everyone else get to go?
Everyone else got to. I got fucked. But then I requested masses. Essentially, that's retribution. You can't do that.
Right.
I called you out on your dumb shit. You can't fucking bite me back for that. And they bit me back. I missed my 96. But come fucking Wednesday, everything fucking changed. Everything changed. Overnight. And I took that hit. I lost that 96, but everything fucking changed from that point on. And dude, listen, I did that shit when I worked for the government. That's why I'm working for myself now. Because it's like, I can't not do that.
Right.
I can't not do that. And if I don't do it, I feel like shit for not saying something.
Right.
It was like when we saw that lady with the dog. And it was her dog. And it was like, the dog can't advocate for herself, but man, I wanted to bite that woman's head off for the way she was treating the dog. Mm. Granted, she wasn't doing anything, but you could see that the dog was not doing well.
Right.
And,
yeah, no, I've had moments like that. I just never know. I don't always know when it's the right thing to do, to speak up. But I know those times.
Yeah, it's like, so when is the right time to self-advocate?
Well, that's true. I think there's always a right time to self-advocate. Sometimes advocating on the behalf of other people, to me, is where I get a little confounded. And so that's that line between, am I advocating for someone else, and even if I'm coming from a good place, is it my place to do it, or is it none of my business and I just shouldn't? Right?
That's fair too, right?
Yeah.
Point in the community. This is a big fucking thing in the community. Everywhere and anywhere you go. And I've learned this by not following my intuition. Mm. When we see something that we feel is wrong, there's probably something wrong. Now, I've been doing this for a long fucking time, and I have pretty good fucking radar. And there was that person who flew under the radar from Domcon.
Right.
Right? And I saw something, but I took it to be how their dynamic existed. Right? Like if that's how they consented to their relationship, I'm not, who am I to say?
Right.
But internally, it was a behavior that conflicted with leather as a belief system, as a culture. Up to, but then again comes the up to interpretation, right? If this is how the person wants to engage in it, so be it. Who am I to question their arrangements?
Right, if they're adhering by what you consider to be the moral standards that they've negotiated, if no one's being coerced into anything.
Exactly, right? Because the person
that they should be free to make those choices, even if they're not in their best interest. They can learn in the long run or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like, and the dialogue that they've had was, it all sounded right. Everything was on point, and it's like, from where I'm standing, you understand what you're doing, and you're accepting the responsibility of your decisions because you have chosen to live within this leather lifestyle, and you've done your due diligence because it sounds like you know what you're talking about. But then you find out a few months, granted knowing them a couple years now, you find out a couple months later that this person's been lying through their teeth and pretending like there's a ton of other shit that's been in the closet. That had I listened to my intuition, maybe I could have spoken and learned. But then I don't, like you said, I don't want to inject myself into someone's situation that isn't mine to begin with.
Right.
So where does advocacy end and where does being nosy begin?
Right. One of my relationships that I needed to leave, the one I had in California for 15 years, right? It should have ended years before it did. And it ended suddenly. I moved to New York. And some years later, I went back and finally saw people that I hadn't said goodbye to, et cetera, et cetera. And I got this sort of outpouring of, well, we didn't know why you know, because he and I married each other very late we probably married each other 3 years before the relationship ended. So we might have been together 12 or 13 years before we actually got married, right? So they were like, we don't know why you even got married, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you people were my friends. Like, why didn't, nobody stepped in to tell me that. Nobody tried to say, hey, Kat, you want to take a look at what you're doing. We think that maybe, and it was that thing. It was like, okay, nobody wants to be responsible. Nobody wants to be told they're wrong. It's like...
Same thing happened with Michelle and Chency. Chency said to me, what do you mean you didn't know she wasn't affectionate? Because that was part of it, was the absence of affection.
Right.
And I was like, no, I didn't know that.
Right.
And she goes, well, everyone knew that. And it's like...
Right, then why didn't you
fucking say so?
Right.
Like,
right.
If you
It's hard. It's a hard call.
So, like, someone reached out to me about the most recent stalking. And I was able to make an informed decision at that point. They said, hey, listen, this is what I know about this person. Be careful. And I said, okay, cool. From everything I've seen up until this point, they haven't.
Right.
But I am mindful of that, and I did thank them for sharing the information with me because it was the right thing to do, right?
And they weren't wrong.
And then I came back and I said, you know what? You were right. Silly me. But I also, because the way I look at it sometimes is, what if the person hasn't been given the opportunity to see things in a different light? Right? And what if they just haven't heard it a particular way, and this could change that for them? Yeah. And it's like, because it changes the barrier, changes the wall, right? It's like, is it a brick wall to keep everyone out, or is it a high bar to keep people of a certain threshold out?
Yeah. There's some stuff going on in the chat.
Let's see. Yes, Hurricane, we are on all of it actually. We're both on my phone, Kat's phone, the iPad. I think when it comes to partners, it's not an easy thing to bring to the table, and also I would say most of the time they won't listen, and suddenly I'm an asshole.
That's the fear. So the other side of the story for me about this thing about my relationship and how nobody told me that what they saw from the outside. After I moved here, I was in a community that I lived out in Rockaway, and there was a man who was about my age who had hooked up with a woman more than half his age. and I had no issues with that. That's not my issue. But he already had an adult child or whatever, and she really pushed him to marry her. She wanted to have a baby, and he didn't really want to do that, right? So I had reason to be with her outside of our immediate community, and discovered that she was like crazy, like lying about things crazy. And I felt like this guy had the right to know that before he did something as like
crazy like that,
like marry her, that, you know, do you not know that she's like a pathological liar? Like, she just lied about stuff, like, for no real reason. And it was confirmed. I mean, the information that I got from her was confirmed by somebody else, et cetera, et cetera. And it was like, but I really struggled with it. At the end of the day, I wasn't that close to him. And I just felt like, you know, he's just going to think I'm the asshole. But it did come up against that feeling I'd had that, like, I wanted to be that person that hadn't been there for me. I wanted to be the person who said, hey, look at this. But I just couldn't bring myself to pull that trigger, because the other side of it was, you know, I'm just being a jerk, sticking my nose into something that's not my business.
So how did it turn out?
I think he ended up marrying her, and I think they ended up having a kid, and I have no idea after that, because I left Rockaway, thank God. And haven't been back since. I mean, I hope it all ended well for them, and I hope I was wrong.
It's a very hard call when one is on the outside looking in. There are many people I keep an eye on. Yeah, dude. I would like to recognize Beyond the Collar on self-advocacy. It's internationally recognized on advocacy and advocacy for disabilities. When you Google self-advocacy in the lifestyle, Beyond the Collar, oh shit, really?
Wow, pops up. That's awesome.
I can't wait to tell them. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
For sure, I'm not saying stay silent, because I would never be, but I think it can swing in the wrong direction.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, six for sure.
Ooh, so that's why, I guess, advocating for others versus self-advocacy, those are two different.
I mean, advocating for others versus advocating for ourselves.
Yeah, two different risk factors.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, let me see, because I do, and I have a hard time self-advocating around things that I want.
Yeah.
Aside from the intimate setting, which I have no issues asking for what I want, outside of there, I have a hard time.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, I fear disappointment. And I think that's the biggest thing. And disappointment and rejection.
Rejection and abandonment,
right?
for me. Yeah,
So,
I told you I did that recent bout of inventory work, and whole new level of self-discovery.
Yeah, it's like, well, what do I want that I'm not getting? Let's see if TikTok will give me the permission slip, and Instagram will give me the permission slip. What am I not saying? Hey!
I know.
Hold on, you don't move, because I
okay.
gotta keep doing TikTok too.
Okay.
I don't know, I'd have to think about it, because I think we've done a pretty good job. At least I've done. No, I'm sure there's stuff that I haven't.
That you haven't asked for?
Yeah. I'm gonna sit with that. Because like when we were talking about things that you feel like you can't say,
Mm-hmm.
and we sat there and you it was like, put it on the table.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's a relief when, oh my God, please don't keep that music on. It's a relief when we can get that off the chest.
Yeah.
When we can say it, and it's like from inside out too, when it's the big scary monster that needs to come out, right? And it's not that.
Yeah, no, I've got a ton of that, for sure. And I'll have to rewatch that movie. Maybe it'll help me put it in perspective. But yeah, it's hard. I mean, fear drives a lot of that for me, and
So before as you pull that out, advocating for others. To that level of personal shit, let me see. I do have, but they weren't that close to me.
yeah.
They were just going through their own shit.
Yeah, no, it's a tough call, and I really heard in what we were just saying the importance of the differences between advocating for oneself and
Advocating for someone else.
advocating for someone else. I think that, like, we absolutely have to advocate for ourselves, and then we probably have to tread lightly when we think we're going to advocate for other people.
Because you're putting your name on it.
Right. And maybe you're sticking your nose into something that's just none of your business. Just because it looks a certain kind of way to you doesn't even mean it really is that way.
Yeah. And ultimately, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, it's tough. It's tough. Because I wouldn't want to, I'd have to sit with serpent. Like, I'd have to really go back and think about scenarios where there was a homeless couple, that I was bending over backwards trying to get them to certain resources. And at the end of the day, they said no.
They didn't want
They didn't want to.
Yeah.
And it was like,
Right. Can't help people that don't want to help themselves.
yeah.
I can't want something for you more than you want it for yourself. That's another truism, right? Because otherwise I'm out of balance.
Or when we were trying to help that person out in Florida to leaving that person. And
Yeah.
they ended up going back.
Yeah.
It was like, well, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, ultimately they did, but it took a while.
Yeah.
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 So we were talking about this other stuff, and you know, like, why do I have a hard time self-advocating, right? And so one of the resources I have is a list of characteristics of how different things look like, right? So I can say that I'm afraid of something, right? But what am I afraid of? And here's a list of things that I could be afraid of, right? I could be afraid of other people's opinions, rejection or abandonment. I could be afraid of loneliness. I could be afraid of physical injury or abuse. I could be afraid of not being able to control or change something. Inferiority or inadequacy comes up. Criticism. Afraid to express one's ideas or feelings. Of being afraid of getting trapped. Being afraid of being exposed or being embarrassed. And it's a lot easier to conceptualize or be more specific about what I'm afraid of when I can see it in greater specificity. Because otherwise, fear as a word, fear is like that monster in the basement of Inside Out 2.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't have we don't know what it is, it doesn't have a face, it's just big and scary, it's like the word fear is like that, but when fear. Fear. But when I can say, okay, so what am I afraid of? And these things, and spell them out, then I can see myself a little more clearly, and I can also see what's motivating what I do. And so that's been really helpful to me. This is the one where I began, when this came up and across all the things I was afraid of, I realized I wasn't speaking up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what led me to that. It starts with a list of all the things I'm mad about, and it ends up with a list of why am I not addressing, why am I upset about things? It's like because I'm motivated by a whole bunch of different stuff I'm not aware of until I look at it and become aware of it. So fear is one of those things.
I'm trying to. I fear my fucking vision's going because I can't read.
Can't read it? Yeah. Well,
I was amazed to learn that I was given what I needed once I learned to verbalize it. Yeah.
Well, the other day when you the conversation you referred to, where I actually somehow found the courage to say some of the things I had not been saying for a very long time. My imagination was that you'd get mad at me, you'd dismiss me, all of these terrible circumstances are what I imagined would happen if I were to say something that was true for me. And oddly enough, none of those things happened.
This work taught me to ask for what I need. It was a revolutionary idea. Just for the record, we don't have a Beyond the Collar app. I'm very curious as to what that Beyond the Collar is. Get the fuck out of here. Really?
What?
Get out of here.
There's an app?
Get out of here.
Called
Hold
Beyond the
on.
Collar?
Yo, let me find out.
Mary didn't make an app, did she?
1 secundo. What? The holy hell. I haven't had my head in the dirt though. Is it an Android thing?
Crazy. Curious about that. Google Apps Yes.
Okay, Google Apps. All right, cool.
Okay.
All right, that makes more sense.
I don't know
That's
what the
awesome.
difference is, but
No, it's an iPhone, Android thing.
oh, okay.
All right, so what are we talking about?
We're talking about self-advocacy.
What was the question there? What was the question?
The last question
No,
we were on?
the question that we're on for today.
Oh, how do you advocate for yourself? What does it mean to advocate for yourself?
Okay, so I would say we've covered some
I'd say
pretty solid bases.
Yeah, we have indeed. And it has all your social media links too.
Awesome. Hurricane, could you
Crazy.
yeah. All right, so let's ask this. Hurricane's about to drop a question off in the chat.
Uh-huh.
What does self-advocacy mean to you?
Self-advocacy for me means showing up and asking for what I want. And my biggest challenge in I don't have as big a time asking as I do knowing. Right? Knowing what I want. And I've been wrestling with that a lot lately. Again, another round of it over and over again, right? Like, what do I want? And then I guess not, I can ask, once I know what it is I want to ask for, right? Like there's things I want to do, and I don't always know how to do them, how to ask, like things that involve other people. Like, I want to do more photography shoots, and I ask people, but then it feels like nothing comes of it. So I'm not asking in a way that's effective, right? For me to be able to do shoots with people. I want to do more play. I want to do more BDSM play. And it's like the last time we were at the last Friday night we did, I looked at a couple different people and I was like, why didn't I just ask them to play? Why didn't I just ask them if they wanted to do a scene? What's the disconnect for me between knowing that I want something and then being able to make it happen in the world when it's just for myself? Because that's the trick. I'm awesome at making things happen for other people. I'm not so awesome at making things happen for myself.
So why don't we talk about your dance card for Friday?
We could talk about my dance card for Friday.
And we'll make up a game plan.
Okay.
An approach for you.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta shave your head.
I know. It's like I want you to be on my dance card at some point, but I feel like I have to earn that. I feel like I haven't. You know, we started in such a challenging place about years ago that I feel like I'm sort of in a hole around it that I still haven't been able to get myself out of. I feel like I'm much closer, but I'm using TikTok as my way of saying it out loud because I don't know how.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that I'd like to play with you. I'm saying that I'd like to do a scene with you where I top and you bottom, and I would like to create an experience with and for you. And I feel like I have the confidence now that I didn't once have to do it, but my fear of asking.
So what would you want to do?
I would want to negotiate with you, but some of the stuff I'd like to put on the table would be some restraint, some impact, some tickling. Those are the things that I have thought of so far, but that I would like to create an experience for you.
Okay.
That's my new thing, is seeing myself topping or seeing myself dominating, if you will, by way of being able to create an experience for someone, right? And what that would look like. And that I want to do that, and that I can do that, right? So that's my recent thoughts. But you are a big part of the things that I'm thinking about in regard to that, and also recognizing that I know that you require a great deal of confidence in someone's confidence to be able to want to do that.
Well, we're done in 7 minutes.
We'll have to tell David.
No.
But,
I have a call at 2.
Yeah, you have a call at 2. I have lunch. But the fact that you would even say that heartens me. It makes me feel like that
you're one of the best, Mama, when I watch play. Of course you're good.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I would love for you to bottom for me for rhythm and beats. That would be amazing. But we'd have to have somebody else DM the event.
That would be cool.
But we could do it on our own. We could take. We even have the playlist. We could take one of the playlists.
It's crazy. We even made the playlist.
We made the playlist. We have them. We could that'd be amazing. I'd love to do that. That's really fun. If you guys are in the area and haven't been here for Rhythm and Beats, it's an incredible event. It's a curated mock event.
You gotta come.
You gotta come. It's to music. It's to rhythm and beat. It's awesome.
Yeah, I want to get that class taught in DomCon and in Claw.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that. So fun.
Yeah.
Where are we?
55.
55.
So
All right.
advocating for myself is by asking for what I want.
Where are you said some areas it's easy for you. Where are the areas where it's not?
Oh, life stuff. Like the gallery stuff. Like being able to be showcased in a gallery, walking into a gallery and saying, I'd like to have my work here.
Wow. Yeah.
That's why I asked this person about Photografisca, right? There's no reason why our art shouldn't be.
See, that's the stuff I'm good at. And now that I'm an artist that's been shown at a gallery,
Let's get us into a museum next. I would love to
that
I would love to do a
stuff is
cocktail
so
hour.
easy for me.
Let's get us in there.
All I have to do is see, I need prompting. Find the galleries in New York City that would host our
Digital
events.
screens.
Huh?
They need digital screens.
Digital screens. And they need to be comfortable with adult content. Right?
Yeah. Vanguard, BDSM.
Well, what about the colleague's girlfriend? That's a
Yeah.
venue, right? See, now I'm going. That'd be awesome. So, anyway, so tomorrow.
Yeah, no, listen, you say it out loud and that's how it gets actionable.
Exactly. Just say it out loud. Absolutely. So there I did. So we're gonna end up in other art galleries with our art.
Museums.
Let's end up in a museum. Robert Mapplethorpe did. Tomorrow at 12 o'clock, we're going to talk about how to recognize and navigate toxic behavior in power dynamics. We touched on this subject yesterday in last night's call, and at a certain point, we tapped into a list of 30 toxic behaviors or 30 toxic traits that we sort of fast forwarded through a few of them. So,
and we're going to talk about how those are found within BDSM and kink.
Yeah, absolutely. The toxic behaviors as they exist in power dynamics and power exchange. And then how to navigate them, because that's the important part. It's one thing to identify toxicity in people or in behavior when you see it, but what do you do about it?
Yeah.
Especially if it's a situation where it's a person it's one thing to say, oh, you're toxic, I'm just going to leave you, but in some cases, just leaving a person isn't an option. So how do you navigate those behaviors, right? That's a big deal.